UFC Vegas 94 lost its co-main event after the weigh-ins. That was supposed to be one of the most exciting fights on the card, but it still managed to deliver. We had a bunch of decisions, but we had a bunch of really exciting fights as well. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap the entire UFC Vegas 94 fight card. Before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. Overall, it was a good night. The premium member safety parlay hit. That made it 6 of the last 7 parlays. Overall, it was a pretty good night bet-wise. The only bets I lost were the main event over 2.5. I thought that was going to go a lot longer. I was surprised Virna Jandiroba got it done as quickly as she did, but we'll talk about that a little later. And then the first fight of the night, right off the rip, a boring, miserable, loser-ass decision with an underdog win. I thought Mohammed Usman was going to win that with physicality. Turns out that guy sucks. We'll talk about that fight in a minute as well. But Luana Carolina got it done at plus money. Steve Garcia was one of my most confident picks on the card. I cannot believe that his money line remained affordable, frankly. Cody Gibson was another confident pick on the card. I paired him with Usman. I never should have done that, but the most important thing is the premium member safety parlay that did hit. Like I said, 6 of the last 7. We are 12-2 in pay-per-views. And the only thing you need to do to unlock the UFC 304 safety parlay is go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 a month. $10 a month. And every week, we're over here giving you winning bets, winning picks, the premium parlay, tools, everything else you ever needed. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. You're going to get UFC 304, UFC Abu Dhabi, the card after that, whatever the hell that is, and then the card after that. $10. What are we talking about? Safety parlay. Just crushes. Does insanely well. Here's a closer look. Let's talk about the fights. Mohammed Usman's not good. This guy sucks. This guy sucks. Could you imagine looking like him, being 6'4", jacked, competing at a high level at multiple sports, and sucking that bad at a fist fight? It's crazy. Dude, Thomas Petersen's not good. He's not good. It's not like Mohammed Usman went out there and lost to Cyril Gane. Right? He didn't go out there and lose to a high-level striker. He lost to a wrestler who outstruck him. To be Mohammed Usman, to be that physically fit, to be the intimidating figure that man is, and to just like throw one jab at a time and not land when you're supposed to land is crazy. It's crazy. It's unforgivable, and it's crazy. Mohammed Usman needs to go back to the well and make some changes. You cannot win fights at this level if you are not willing to fight. If you are not willing to move forward, walk forward, make it ugly. You can't win fights. You are either insanely technical or insanely tough. And unfortunately, Mohammed Usman is not either one of those things. He's not technical enough to stay on the outside and dance around, and he's not tough or brawly enough to move forward and turn this into a nasty, gritty, ugly fight where he can just be bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic. So he wasn't able to do that. So what happened? He just got sort of pieced up by a sloppy Thomas Petersen. Good for Thomas. He's the one who moved forward. He's the one who didn't care. He ate the shots. He continued to move forward. He did the things. He made this fight a little ugly. Kind of sucked, boring, low-level heavyweight fight. But Thomas Petersen 100% won this fight. That was the correct decision. And I just couldn't imagine being naturally gifted with that speed, that physique, that power, and then being afraid to get into a fist fight. Congratulations to Thomas Petersen. I don't know what they do with Mohammed Usman. He's one of the greatest welterweights of all time's brother. He's got the namesake, but he just doesn't have the skill set or the desire. And I don't even want to, this isn't even as much of a dogging on his skills, because frankly, he's a heavyweight. He doesn't need to be technical, he just needs to be tough and physical. But he's not doing that either. Very frustrating fight to watch. When that fight happened and Usman lost, and I lost the first bet I put on this card, I was like, this is going to be a disaster. Luckily, the card worked out. We made money. Safety parlay hit. Luckily, it ended up being a great night. But this did not set the right tone. What then righted the ship, though, was my girl, Luana Carolina. I definitely said that name wrong, but let's give me a little bit of forgiveness here. It's late at night, and we're doing this recap. But Luana Carolina got it done. I was surprised that she was an underdog. If you are a premium member and you've seen the line movement tracker, you saw that she opened at a minus 220. Big favorite. full swing to underdog money. That's when I bet her. I bet her at plus 102. It's not crazy underdog money, but it was underdog money. And then she swung back up at like minus 110, minus 115, something like that. I don't know why she was an underdog at one point. I get it. Lucie Pudilova's tough. Lucie Pudilova can strike. She's not Mohammed Usman. She's not afraid of a fist fight. She will move forward. And she did move forward. And she tried to make it happen. She was the one wrestling. What would have been the sneaky best bet on this card would have been betting Lucie Pudilova more takedowns. That was wild plus money because that was not the expectation. She's the striker. So for her to come in and shoot some takedowns just showed you some high fight IQ. She was like, I'm struggling with Luana Carolina's awkward striking style. I'm struggling with the distance. Let me work in some takedowns. And she got the takedowns. But it didn't matter. Because Luana has that range. She has that awkward striking. She controlled the clinch. She controlled the sort of in-the-pocket exchanges. It was a back-and-forth fight. This was by no means an absolute beating. And I was a little nervous, right? You never know with judges. Luckily, this is in Vegas. I do tend to think that Vegas gets more fights right than they do wrong. So if this was not in Vegas, I don't know which way it would have gone. But Luana won that fight. Again, I was surprised she was underdog money. She was a bet that I placed as soon as I saw it. I saw she was a dog, and I said, I have to do this. So Luana is just one of these fighters that's just sneakily working some wins, sneakily making stuff happen, just sort of under the radar. It's not flashy. She's not doing enough to get fight of the night bonuses, but she's just winning fights quietly while nobody's paying attention. And let's hope that we can continue to get her at affordable price points going forward. Trey Ogden versus Loik Radzhabov. If I didn't have this breakdown spot on, I don't know what we're doing here. I picked Trey Ogden and I said, Loik has a ton of power in his hands. Loik is a very good wrestler, but he doesn't defend takedowns well. Trey Ogden, if I can trust that dude to do anything, it's shoot takedowns and hold somebody down. That's exactly what we saw. He shot the takedowns. He held Loik down. Sort of a wet blanket fight. We opened this card 3 fights, 3 sort of snooze fest decisions. There was a little bit of excitement in this fight because Loik rallied in the third. Ended up on top, was raining down. And that's exactly what happened in his last fight, right? When he beat Al Sawadi, he was losing the fight, and then the third round got it done. So there was a piece of me that was like, oh shit. But that's not what happened. Trey Ogden just stuck with it, grinded his way forward, banked enough rounds that rally at the end of the third for Loik didn't really matter. I don't think Loik loses stock here. What I do think he needs to do is learn how to defend some takedowns. It is odd to me that he's such a good offensive wrestler that he doesn't defend takedowns well. But there are energy in this sport. Energy matters. Confidence matters. And when I broke this fight down, I picked Trey Ogden to win. I said he can out-wrestle Loik. Loik doesn't defend takedowns well. And then I said Trey Ogden's feeling himself. He's coming off a couple of good wins. And the no contest before that, he was winning that fight too. And that matters. The confidence matters. The momentum matters. And it looked like Trey felt that coming into this. He seemed more confident than ever. Came forward. This is absolutely the biggest win of his career. Loik is good. So great for Trey Ogden. But again, I don't think Loik loses stock here. Certainly anybody who can wrestle well will take him down and beat him. But Loik has that power. He has no quit in him whatsoever. End of the third round. He's still trying to win this fight. So ultimately, it was a boring fight that ended kind of exciting. And what's interesting is when this card was over, Jacob live streamed the whole thing. He was texting me, showing me some of the stats from the live stream. Thank all of you if you watched that live stream because he had a wildly successful stream. First of all, they made thousands of dollars during the stream on live bets. The donations were through the roof. The live viewer count was incredible. It was a great stream overall. But I basically said to him, I was like, I'm so glad you had a good stream considering these fights kind of sucked. And he's like, what are you talking about? The fights were spectacular. And I'm like, the fights were spectacular. Were we watching the same thing? And I had a buddy over and we were watching and playing with the kids and swimming and stuff. So I was like, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Then I looked at the fights on paper and it's like, wait, the first 4 fights on this card went to a decision. That's why in my head, I think they sucked. And then after that, we had all finishes. And the 4th fight of this card in a row, which was a decision, which was the second half of the safety parlay, was Miranda Maverick versus Dione Barbosa. I had the over 2.5 in the safety parlay. This and the Edwards or the Carolina fight. So got it done. Safety parlay hit 6 of the last 7. We're going to crush UFC 304. Unlock it now. Don't be a cheap bastard. This was an interesting fight because when I broke these fights down long before Jacob did, I picked Miranda Maverick. I said she's got to be one of the most confident picks on the card, right? Her forward pressure, the wrestling, it's going to be enough. And then Jacob broke down Dione Barbosa, Olympic judoka. And it gave me a little bit of concern. The original safety parlay was going to be Miranda Maverick and Cody Gibson. That was going to be the safety parlay. And then I got a little nervous because I was like, you know what? Miranda Maverick isn't that good, right? I thought she was going to win this fight because I would trust her to wrestle. Dione stepping up on short notice. And Miranda Maverick should be able to move forward and get the takedowns. That's basically how that fight went. But then I did get nervous because we've seen Miranda Maverick in trouble. We've seen her get tossed. We've seen her get taken down. We've seen her getting beaten up by people that are not that good, certainly not as good as Dione Barbosa. Because watching that fight, Dione Barbosa didn't look bad. Couple of things on her side. First of all, she's humongous. She's absolutely tremendous for this weight class. Dione Barbosa is huge. Second, when they did grapple, she had some success. She had some success grappling. The issue here is she was hesitant. She waited for Miranda Maverick. When Miranda initiated the takedowns, Dione couldn't stop it. And that was the breakdown. Last week, we talked about the difference between judo and wrestling. And we talked about a couple of fighters. And I said, if you're going to tie up with a judo, you're going to get tossed. You're going to get tossed. That's it. I don't care how much takedown defense you are training in the gym. If you're going to tie up with a high-level judo practitioner, you'll get tossed. And then we broke down this fight. I said the good news is Miranda's not going to tie up. When she shoots takedowns, she will shoot a takedown. And that's the easiest way to beat judo. Don't hang out up top. Shoot at the hips. Take her down. Done. And that's what happened. So Miranda won. She was the biggest favorite on the card. The biggest favorite on this card. That's how sketchy this card was. Did she look like the biggest favorite? I don't think so. There were certainly some sloppy moments. One judge, she gave up a round on one judge's scorecard. I do not think she was the biggest favorite. I do think Miranda Maverick was going to lose to Tracy Cortez. But she won this fight, and good for her, because I feel bad for Miranda. I bought her pickles. If you don't know, we have vlogs on this channel. The Christmas, the holiday vlog, I bought her pickles. I ate them. They're actually delicious. You should buy some. But I also talked about how she's been pretty angry lately. Talking about you can't really make money in this sport. There's no money to be made. You don't get fights. And when you do get fights, the money sucks. So she's been very anti-UFC these last couple of months. So it's interesting to see that she actually got kind of a favorable matchup here. And this all worked out for her because Tracy Cortez was going to beat her. And all of a sudden, she wouldn't have a leg to stand on. But no love lost here for Dione. I thought Dione looked good. I thought she looked good. I'm interested to see her next fight, a full camp. She did step up on like 2 weeks notice here. So let's see what a full camp looks like. I want to see Miranda Maverick. Give her a higher ranked opponent, right? She had a short notice opponent that had one fight in the UFC. Let's give her a top 15, a top 10, and see what happens there. Dione, tremendous, but she does need to shore some things up. You can't be that good at judo and not be able to move forward with it. You can't be that good at judo and just rely on people coming to you so you can toss them, because that's sort of where she struggled here. Miranda moved forward, but she shot shots at the hips. Then we got our first finish of the night. Cody Gibson, the second biggest favorite on the card. Should have been the biggest favorite the whole time. Came in here, smoked Brian Kelleher. Looked good, moved forward, did all the things. Pretty straightforward. There's not much to talk about here. We talked about coming into this fight that Brian Kelleher has only lost to absolute killers, right? Umar Nurmagomedov, Cody Garbrandt. Like, he's only lost to very high-level fighters, former potential future champions. And I literally said Cody Gibson would be the worst person that Brian Kelleher has ever lost to. And that's not an insult to Cody Gibson, but Cody Gibson's not Umar Nurmagomedov. Cody Gibson is not Cody Garbrandt. But I did say that Cody Gibson's a big guy. He's an absolute dog, and he will turn this into a fight. And at the end of the day, it feels like Cody Gibson is taking his career far more seriously, trying to build a career, even though he's 36, where Brian Kelleher is just sort of, I'm at the tail end here. Let me get paid and fight when I can fight and move on, have some fun. And the post-fight interview tells you everything you need to know, because Cody Gibson, in the post-fight interview, they talked about the arm triangle. How'd you get that arm triangle? I've been working on it in the gym. I used to miss it all the time, and then my coach gave me some tweaks, and now I'm getting it. That is somebody who takes their craft very seriously, somebody who's improving at a rapid rate. That's somebody who is Not 36 years old and just like, let me do what I can do and move on. That's somebody who takes this seriously. It showed in the octagon. He got the win. Good for him. It was his first win in the UFC in 8 years. 8 years, his first win in the UFC, I think. 99% sure. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Then Hyder Amil with the big underdog win. I got this pick wrong and I got the breakdown correct. I said Jeong Lee is fast, accurate, very clean striker. I said this is a razor-thin fight. I have to pick somebody because we're doing the video. I am barely going to pick Jeong Lee because I do think he's the faster, just more accurate striker. But if Hyder Amil can turn this into a brawl, he can win this fight. And that's exactly what he does. There's the old adage, you box a brawler or you brawl a boxer. And essentially what that means is if you are the more technical fighter, you need to keep it technical. If you're the boxer, you need to box. Do not brawl. If you're the brawler, you need to turn it into a brawl. Do not box. And that's what Hyder Amil did. He is not the cleaner, more technical striker here. What he is, though, is an absolute dog that stays in your face. And that's exactly what he did in this fight. He moved forward. He stayed in Jeong's face. He bit down on his mouthpiece. And he just bombed away in the pocket. And he landed clean, made it happen, and got it done. Hyder Amil now 10-0. Looked absolutely fantastic. Jeong Lee is a very, very good fighter, but he took some big boy shots, and that's the type of thing, I don't know what he's going to look like next. We see a lot of fighters that do really well, go on streaks, get knocked out, and then there's just never the same after that. I don't know if Hyder Amil just destroyed the hype train that was Jeong Lee, but Hyder Amil looked absolutely fantastic. His ability to plant his feet, bite down on his mouthpiece, and make this dirty was spectacular. Did exactly what he needed to do. I am looking forward to seeing his next fight. And then we could just officially say goodbye to Bill Algeo's chin. What'd I say breaking down this fight? Hey guys, remember last time in his last fight when Bill Algeo was a massive favorite? What happened? And here we go again. Not a tremendous favorite, but the favorite nonetheless. Smoked. Just absolutely smoked. That karate, we're done with the karate style, right? We can all agree that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson gets a pass. Michael Venom Page gets a pass. That's it. Nobody else. That's it. Anybody else doing the karate bullshit, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Look what happened. The stupid low hands dancing stance just does not work. You cannot defend strikes flying at your face with that low stance bounce in and out. Bill Algeo tried to wrestle here. He tried to wrestle, came forward, looked to get the takedown, had some cage control, but ultimately he's taken a little too much damage. Gotten hit a few too many times. Kyle Nelson just blasted him in his last fight. He probably hasn't fully recovered. This is a very quick turnaround. And then we have Choi coming in here and putting Bill Algeo away. This one was not questionable. What was interesting is Bill Algeo got blasted, and maybe by the time you're watching this, you know what happened. I don't know what happened. He got blasted in the face, was still seemed to have his wits about him, then ultimately turns his head, grabs his eye, and I don't want to say quit, but he quit, right? He was like, I'm done. So I don't know if he broke his orbital bone or something else happened. I'm not sure. If you know, let me know in the comments. You may know by the time you watch this, but certainly something happened. This wasn't a normal knockout. And Bill Algeo is a tough guy. I don't think this was Bill Algeo being like, yeah, we're done with this. Fighting for money isn't worth it. This is not the career I wanted. This isn't what Mama Algeo wanted for me. So I don't know if that's what this was, where he was just like, we're done here, or if something significant happened, like his orbital bone broke, and that's why he quit. But ultimately, he got blasted in the face, decided he had enough, and that was the end of Bill Algeo's fight. Then we had another guy that's always been a little chinny, and it showed. Cody Durden. I mean, again, if you watch the breakdowns and you listen to the words, then you should have been pretty good on this card. I had no money on Cody Durden whatsoever. But if you watch the breakdowns and you just fast forward real quick and who'd he pick? Cody Durden? Okay, next. I picked Cody Durden, but what did I say? You can't bet on this guy. You cannot trust his chin. He should win with the wrestling, but you cannot trust this guy's chin. He's been knocked down and knocked out. Tagir dropped him. Makayev dropped. You cannot trust this guy's chin. He's fighting Bruno Silva. If anybody's going to knock him out, it's going to be Bruno Silva. So the pick was Cody. I said, I think Cody can come forward. Ultimately, I think he can squeak out a win with the wrestling. This could look like how De Geer beat Bruno Silva. But Bruno Silva is one of the hardest hitting guys in this division, and you cannot trust Cody Durden with your money. And that's what we got. Cody Durden moved forward, had a little bit of success, fought a Cody Durden fight. His striking doesn't suck. Cody Durden's got decent striking. He's a dog. He'll move forward. He'll strike with you. He's not a quitter. But he is chinny. And it sucks because you can't help that. You can't train your chin. There are no exercises to help you absorb punches better. There just aren't. Because if there were, people would do them. And Cody's just one of these guys that will always put in the work. He'll always have the cardio. He'll always have the wrestling. He'll always have some dog in him. He'll never have the chin. So anytime he fights somebody like a Bruno Silva, like a Tagir Ulanbekov, who can match the energy but has some power in their hands, he's going to be screwed. Bruno Silva continues to impress. Smoked Tyson Nam in his last fight after a multi-year layoff. Just smoked Cody Durden in this fight. And when I say smoked, it was pretty competitive and then bang, got it done. But this was a good fight. This is a very good fight. I'm very glad I avoided the landmine here. But Bruno Silva, very curious what they do for him next. And Cody Durden, I will continue to pick him to win if he's fighting somebody without power. As soon as he's fighting somebody with power, maybe I pick him, but I'm certainly not going to bet on him. We got to avoid that like the plague. Then we got Kurt Holloway in the fight of the night. Kurt Holloway fought Kanan Krzyzewski. This was a back-and-forth fight. This was a great fight. Just a back-and-forth brawl. Sloppy as hell. Rolling all over the place. Kurt Holloway's got some very good grappling. And we saw just sort of flashes of the grappling. He was supposed to be fighting a much better striker, but Kurt moved forward. Kurt threw some strikes. Kurt made some stuff happen on the feet. This was a great fight. I know Kurt was a lot of people's underdog, so congratulations to all of you for picking him because he was a dog and he won this fight. I picked him to win as well. I didn't have the guts to bet on him. But Kurt Holloway, one of these guys, just quietly improving. In the last fight, we watched him just get held down by Trey Ogden for 11 of 15 minutes. This fight still had the very good jiu-jitsu. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh man, Kurt's got some hands. Oh, I didn't know Kurt was a dog like that. So Kurt Hall's going to be very interesting to see in his next fight, see what he looks like, see what he does, see who they give him, because I have no problems picking Kurt Holloway in the future. Anytime I get somebody that can be a dog, you know you can trust that person with your money. And he's that guy. We saw toughness, we saw grit, we saw grappling, we saw much improved striking, so he's just getting better every time out there. Congratulations to Kurt Holloway and everybody you bet on him. Steve Garcia. Said it all week. Literally in my script. You guys know I read a script. It's my script. I write it, but you guys know I read my notes when I do the breakdowns. And in my notes, right there, I said, Steve Garcia is sneaky good. Fly under the radar good. He's just coming out. He's had 5 wins in the UFC, all by KO or TKO. Now 6. 6 wins in the UFC, all by KO or TKO. And nobody talks about him. Nobody is talking about Steve Garcia. Because he's just a regular looking, nothing special about him kind of guy. But he just happens to have incredible power in his hands and some wrestling. And he looks spectacular in this fight. I had to bet on him. I got him at minus 140. He only closed at minus 155. That is the most surprising thing to me. Because people looked at this card. They saw Miranda Maverick, the biggest favorite on the card, at like minus 220. Then they looked up and down and like, yeah, I don't know where to put my money. And Steve Garcia was just sitting there, fighting a guy who's 2-3 in his last fight, fighting a guy who's been knocked out cold. Steve Garcia with 5 knockouts in the UFC, and people didn't bet him. He got bet a little bit, right? He moved from minus 140 to minus 155, but not the way he should have. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to fly under the radar and just sort of sneak by without people noticing, but Steve Garcia is good. This guy has crazy power in his hands. He has very good wrestling. His last knockout was a TKO on the ground. And he's willing to fight like a man. Great for Steve Garcia. I'm very happy for Steve Garcia. I actually hope he continues to just fly under the radar, get these matchups that he can win, get some spots on some random cards, make his money, and then all of a sudden we have a Steve Garcia winning 7 fights in a row by knockout, setting all sorts of records. I love this guy. To do what he does and not be a weirdo running his mouth, he's a throwback. This dude is at Jackson Wink MMA. When was the last time we saw a fighter doing anything coming out of Jackson Wink? Good for Steve Garcia. And good for Virna Jandiroba. Holy crap. I picked her to win. She was a slight favorite. I had the over on takedowns. I figured she would come forward, wrestle heavy. I also figured Amanda Lemos would defend a couple of takedowns, which she did. But I figured Amanda would be able to survive on the ground, which for a while she did. These were some of the highest level grappling exchanges I've ever seen. People wanted to dog this main event. Oh, 2 weeks in a row, women's MMA. 2 weeks in a row, female main events. UFC hates their product. UFC sucks. The grappling scrambles in this fight were spectacular. They were incredible. They weren't sloppy. It wasn't sloppy bullshit, Rona. They both knew exactly what they were doing. They both had sweeps. The takedown attempts, and then Amanda Lemos would drop her, and then Virna would go for a knee, and then Amanda would roll for the heel, and then Virna would roll for Amanda's heel. It was incredible. Those grappling exchanges were spectacular. And if you appreciate this sport, you appreciated those scrambles because this was not a boring fight. And by no means was this a mauling by Virna. Certainly, she won by finish. Certainly. And it was decisive. And frankly, Virna's better than we all thought. I picked her to win, and she's better than I thought she was. I didn't think she'd win like this. Weili Zhang couldn't put Amanda Lemos away. But Amanda looked good. She defended enough takedowns. In those early scrambles, she looked good. She looked like she knew exactly what she was doing. She swept Virna. She held her own. This was a very good, very high-level fight. Well, we're about to find out how good Virna Jandiroba is. I don't know who she should fight next. Where should she go after this? Because she's been mauling people. She just stopped Amanda Lemos. She mauled Lucie, and Lupie's got some of the worst fight IQ in the world, but Lupie's a very good fighter. Virna Jandiroba is just sneakily, she beat Marina Rodriguez. She's just sneakily beating all of these people. I don't know who you give her next, but I'm looking forward to it. And if you notice this week, 0 jokes. No jokes about the appearance. I didn't say shit about what direction her eyes are facing. You didn't hear Rob Schneider's name come out of my mouth once this week, and that's out of respect for Virna Jandiroba and what she's been doing. So congratulations to her, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. Guys, UFC 304 is in 1 week. It's a big-time pay-per-view. And if you want access to all the picks, the bets, the tools, and everything else, it's only $10 for an entire freaking month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. The very newest tool we have is the Prop Hunter. And here is our first review. We just released this tool last week. And Keen Yaw put up some big boy money. And he said, at We Want Picks, the new Prop Hunter is amazing. And that's what we do. We put up our own picks and bets that we give you if you just want to copy paste. But then we give you tools and information to help you find your own spots. The Prop Hunter is the newest one. It has been out there in the wild, and here's your first review. You're also going to get bets like the safety parlay, 6-1 in the last 7. 6-1 in the last 7. And the one I missed was because Charles Johnson knocked the dude out in the 3rd round 1 minute before the over-on rounds. The safety parlay hits at a 70% event clip. And if we're talking about pay-per-views specifically, 12-2 in the last 10. And before you think you're Goodwill Hunting that I fucked this math up, some of these pay-per-views get more than one safety parlay. That's why there's 14 pay-per-views, 14 safety parlays in the last 10 pay-per-views. It has a 25% lifetime ROI. And if you know math, you know how absolutely spectacular that is. Guys, unlock the line movement tracker, unlock the Prop Hunter, the safety parlay, the picks, the bets, and everything else that we do for the greatest single pack. You know there's people out there paying $100 a month for bets from a guy that has a broken iPhone screen? And we're charging $10 a month for winning bets week in and week out. For the most comprehensive set of tools on the internet, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Guys, thank you so much for this watch. Our growth has been spectacular. It is absolutely because of you all. I appreciate every last one of you.